Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
There's always that little darkness or that little bit of light.
Absolutely.
And we have to learn to appreciate, hold on to those things to get us through those hard times. And I just want to sit there and thank everybody who's come into my life and showed me small amounts of kindness. Kindness is what got me through my life, and I pray that people during this holiday season, today, Christmas, and even going into the new year, I hope that they receive kindness. I hope that they receive the things that they really need and not the things that they want, because that's wisdom, and that's the difference between loving Creator and loving a dollar. And I just want to say thank you, Miigwech. You know, we're always about taking care of one another. That's the Native American way. Whether they be animals, the people, the water. And it's a great foundation to start loving your life with. And that's what I'm appreciative for. Miigwech.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So, I think that's a good place to start. You know, when we say it's 27 people in the house. When we talk about Christmas and now being the Christmas time of the year, Christmas season, Jagadesh Umjiri, hi bro. Gray, hi. What city is that? St. Paul. East side of St. Paul, Minnesota. When we talk about Christmas and this time of year and people just kind of being all over the place, I mean, truthfully, like globally right now, as far as economy and just things in general, I would say it's easy to get caught up in the what I don't have as opposed to what I do. And
big facts.
Right. And the key is, though, and what we often promote and encourage others to see, is it's what you do have as opposed to what you don't. You know what I mean? If you have ears by which to hear this right now, if you got eyes by which to see,
you're blessed.
You're good. You're good. You got some stuff going on. You know what I mean? You're definitely blessed. Could it always, I mean, no matter what income level you're at, rather you're at $0 to $30,000 a year, rather you homeless, especially if you're in the West, it could always be better. Rather you getting 30 million or 30,000 in a year, it could always be better. You know what I mean? It could always be better. And having said that, be appreciative for what you have, your health, you know what I mean, your loved ones, your mental faculties, your outer extremities, your hands, your arms, the ability to put a plan together, you know what I mean, and keep going, no matter what. You know, all those things are blessings, and give thanks for that.
Yep, because it's all about appreciating those little things. If you can learn to appreciate 100 small things, what happens when you put those 100 small things together? It becomes a bigger item.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And for me, man, I am so appreciative of life now, just because, like, I used to be stuck on the other side of the coin, wondering why it was so dark. Why am I, not figuring stuff out?
Right.
But that's when you have to really look inward and stop looking outward. Comparing yourself to another person, knowing you are your own person, you are your own mind, you're your own heart, you're your own soul. You know, our life and our paths and our understandings are all going to be different.
Right.
You know, and me personally, I'm somebody who likes to take in information from everywhere.
Right.
I like to appreciate Muslim ideas and cultures in a way that coming from an authentic source and giving knowledge or wisdom about some of the best things that has to offer.
Right.
You know, whether that be Buddhism, I love a lot to do with Buddhism. Confucianism, yin and yang,
Right.
I'm somebody who really felt like yin and yang.
Right.
In the sense that I was living my life around the people that I did because that was my life. That was how I was born into it.
Right.
But recognize that as a young individual and listening to the ones that were older than me, realizing that they were doing this and making this choice and this struggle so that their next generation didn't have to.
Right.
Now we're not at that anymore. And it's sad because I've grown up in situations where I've seen friends who get into gangs and this way of living because that's what they were born into. know, and that's a rough life. That's an extremely hard life.
Right.
And it's not for everybody. And me growing up, I knew that shit wasn't going to be for me.
Right.
But I still hung out with them. I still went in between the colors and was just like, I'm a real motherfucker. I'm just here to chill. I'm here to be a good person with you. And a lot of people recognize that. And I can tell you that growing up, sorry. Growing up, I've had a lot of people, you know, want to, you know, have me join their group in that sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that type of peer pressure, it didn't make any sense to me, you know, growing up, because it's like, if I'm going to break the rules, to break rules with you, I could just break rules by myself and not have to worry about the collective.
Right.
You know, because
and you know, the whole, what you were saying, I wanted to comment on what you were saying as far as like, there was a time when parents or older generations in general, elders of communities, had this notion of work hard now so my children or my grandchildren can be better off.
Yes.
And that was seen as a win. Right? Like, even something just as far as being a janitor for 20 years, being a, you know, even though, okay,
server.
Yeah, you know what I mean, for a decade or two,
Yeah.
just so my son or daughter can get through school or learn how to read, you know what I mean?
Develop a skill.
Develop a skill.
Real
Right.
life skill.
Right. And then take that, go out, you know, get a partner in life and advance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And advance. And then even with that being the case, the Christmas spirit at that time, let's say it was, okay, mom and dad couldn't do much, but they did what they could. And then when they do finally hit you with something, it's like, okay, great, we appreciate that. Whereas nowadays, it might be a kid asked for a particular Jordan or Nike shoe or something like that, and mom, probably single in a lot of cases, unfortunately.
Which is extremely sad.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. She got you a Jordan or Nike shoe, but she got you the 1s instead of the 13s, or the 2s instead of the 3s, and you hate her. Oh, you're dumb, mom. Why would you get me the 3s instead of the 2s? You're stupid, mom.
That's as a child, man. That's where growing up. That's when you realize, like me personally, I've had a lot of Christmases stolen from me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My parents struggled with addiction, and my dad fell apart at this time of the year. And
Right.
what he would do is he would steal all the Christmas presents and, you know, go sell them to make himself feel better. And experiencing that as a kid, not having any type of Christmas, that makes you so happy for whatever you do get. You know? And I'm somebody who's born right after Christmas, you know, a little bit after. Sometimes I got my Christmas with my birthday. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So for the families, or, you know, the moms and dads that, you know, struggle to get those things by a deadline, you know, because they're trying to be a part of this holiday, you know, as a kid, when my parents said, listen, you know, we don't have this right now, you know, I want to give this to you when I can, don't be mad at me, you know.
Right.
I've had that humbling experience, and I never hated my parents for that, you know. And saying, like, for the kids growing up right now, it is so hard for y'all. It is so hard. Like, you're constantly connected to the internet, right? And you're constantly connected to this internet with a comparison ideology of saying, I need to look as good as the next person.
Right.
I need to have the things that this person has, or I won't be liked.
Right.
You know, and that's not how life works.
Right.
You know, I'd rather be loved by myself than, you know, hated by myself. You know, and that's a good place to start.
Right. That's a good point, actually, because I mean, I'm not sure the average person is really concerned about themselves in that sense, where they even understand the concept of a self, you know what I mean, and being responsible for yourself at any particular age group, you know, especially when you're a teenager, preteen, you know what I mean, you got a lot of pressure from
the external world and the inside world.
Because the inside is doing things that you may not even be aware of, you know what I mean, and it's going places and taking you places that you may not even be aware of, and probably aren't in a lot of cases, you know. But when you are at some point, I mean, I tend to think that when you're young, especially with the world being as hyper pressurized as it is, you gotta be given some sort of a excuse for that. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot you don't know.
Right, it's an overstimulating environment,
right.
Flashing lights, loud noises, and for somebody who's growing up, stepping into that for the first time,
right,
it's gonna rock you.
Right.
You know, it's
and then you got peer pressure, you got people in
positions of power trying to dictate your way of thinking.
Yeah, you know what I mean. High multi-billion-dollar marketing campaigns to promote certain products, and then when you're young, you're very easily influenceable. So it wouldn't be tough to associate your happiness to convince you, right? Because at the end of the day, we're making decisions, but the campaigns are seeking, the marketing campaigns are seeking to convince us that we have to connect our humanity to these things. You know what I mean?
When it should be the opposite, right? Right. It should be humanity looking at these ideas and saying, "I want to put in on this."
Right, because I believe in it, and it can go beyond me, and it can survive me, and it can help other humans after me. You know what I mean? But companies have looked at that and said, "Oh, what is this nonsense about morality? That's nonsense. It's profits over people, right?" So let's.
I was just gonna say that. When you literally said that a minute after me, and I was just like, I'm just gonna wait till he's done talking. And he said it. Okay.
For real, you know what I mean? Like it did.
That's 100% facts, man.
Yeah. So let's just go ahead and, rather than being concerned about ancient traditions and society and people and cultures, man, that's for the losers, right? We're the people who get it, right? We're about keeping the profits up, type thing. You know what I'm saying? So.
And me personally, man, is somebody who's never really valued a dollar. You know what I mean? I'm somebody who never had anything my whole life. Right. And anytime I did have something, it was something I always worked hard for. Right. Which is why it feels good to have that honest dollar bill. Because if there's anything I learned from older cats that made those types of decisions and lived that life, the best piece of advice they ever gave me was, listen, dude, that money's never yours.
Right.
That money's never yours. It climbs up the ladder to the guy sitting at the top. You just get to hold it.
Yeah.
You know? And that's really the test. Are you gonna sit there and hold it and give it to who needs to be given to? Because that's where loyalty and honor comes from.
Right.
You know? And me personally, I've always been a lone wolf for the most part my whole life. I'm somebody who had very little friends. I was always welcomed. I've always had people come into my life and say, especially if they're older people, you know, if I was dating a girl, you know, their parents always loved me. You know what I'm saying? Or with my best friend's family, they always loved me, because you could leave me in your house and I wouldn't steal nothing. You could leave your wallet in front of me and I wouldn't take nothing. I've had $30,000, $40,000 tossed in my lap saying, you know, this and that, and it's just like, this ain't mine. I don't want shit to do with it. Right. You know, having that type of understanding in life, like, there is no free meals, because that's the first thing. That's the first thing. That's the first thing they throw in your face.
But when you're struggling though, and this is why this whole game can be tough, because a lot of times in this capitalist structure where profits are over people, they're coming at you where you're in the deficit, right? So let's say for the guys that are older, you know, maybe your esteem is low, you can't really get a partner, so let's tag you with some of this stuff from the hub, right? And keep you
and keep you temporarily satisfied, so that you're not out looking or being better.
Right.
It's a distraction of saying, you know, something. And I'm guilty of that shit.
Yeah, I think we all are, to a degree. I mean, especially, like I said, coming up out here in this system, wherever we may be and we're in it.
And growing up the way we did in the homes and the environments that we had.
Less than optimal upbringings, right? Broken homes, dysfunctional situations, poverty, right? We know the drill, you know what I'm saying? But rather than saying, okay, we're victims of that, we're really victors of that, from that.
Survivors of it.
Survivors. Overcomers, you know what I'm saying?
Or becomers.
Exactly. And the thing is, so when you're broke, and we all know that there's no free meal, but when you're broke and you haven't eaten in a few days, it becomes tempting to take it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's how a lot of professional athletes, entertainers, when they sign those first contracts, and then 20 years later you still in some kind of a jam, it's because of situations like that. You know what I mean? Like you were hungry, you were in need, and you needed a hug or you needed a leg up from a fellow human being. But rather than do that, they said, we're going to exploit you.
Yes, because that's them taking your situation and making $1. That reminds me of a lot of the people that go around helping homeless people but have to record it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm somebody who goes and helps homeless people or talks to them, and that's what I plan on doing today, right before Christmas. I got like $40. I'm gonna go buy some snacks, some water. I'm gonna go where I can find homeless people. I'm just gonna give shit out.
Right.
Because that type of behavior, you know, that type of recognition, saying I'm lucky with the position I'm in. I might not have shit. I might not have a whole lot, excuse my language, but I'm gonna still go out there and sit with somebody who feels like they have less.
Right.
Because that acknowledgement, that person's life, when they don't feel like they're worth anything,
right,
when somebody comes along and just blesses them with whatever it may be, you know, whether it be a smile, a gesture, something to eat, a couple dollars, like,
right,
that's
something
love.
like it is that. And love, you know, I mean, we hear that. I mean, it sounds corny, right? Like, oh, we need to love each other more, we need to be more loving. But I swear, that's the honest to God truth. You know, it really is. And the one whom we need to focus on loving more is ourselves first and foremost.
Starts there first.
Yeah, love yourself more first and foremost. You know what I mean? Even if you happen to be locked up and it's the holiday season or something.
Shout out to all the convicts that are going through that right now. You know? Like, if I ever got in a position where I was making good money, that's where I would start.
And we're talking about, first and foremost, unjust lockups, right? Somebody who's a murderer and who's done a lot of crazy things. That's forget them. We're talking about people that, again, the injustice of the system that we're in, right? The fact that it's just eating up and gobbling humans at every turn, irrespective of if they're innocent or not.
And with that being said, these are the people that threw away a piece of themselves in a small moment. That moment was control. Right. You know what I'm saying? These are good men who are in shitty positions. Again, sorry about the language, but they had to make a choice, and they had to stand by that choice. Right. You know, and I know a lot of good people. I've grown up around a lot of people that were in and out of prison. I've always felt safe as a kid with those people in my life. You know, because they have a sense of morals. You know, because they had to take such a loss. They had to find that silver lining. And it just makes me think about that movie with Tupac. You know, when Tupac, when it was talking about Tupac's growing up when he went to prison. You know what I mean? When he ran into that lifer. Yeah. A lot of good men, like in that movie, he might have been a murderer, right? Yeah. He might have been a vicious person, but he recognized somebody's talent and saying, "You don't belong here. Keep your head out of the dumb stuff. Yeah. And just stick to your lane. Don't look." Right. And he took care of him, and he didn't say nothing. He didn't expect nothing. Right. That is a perfect example of what I was saying last time about the meaning of life. And I got this from an older person, somebody who struggled, somebody who was a convict, somebody who was in the streets. And when he told me that, doing something for somebody so great, you can never repay them back in your lifetime, and you don't expect them to. Seeing that in that movie, in that moment, and recognizing his words, that's what I saw. Right. You know, and I'm not saying that's a good person, but you know something? That person is a protector. Right. You know, some people get to walk around in life and not have any protectors. I was one of those people that wish I had a protector growing up, but my only protector was God, even if I realized he was there or not. Yeah, and I survived that. Yeah, you're right. So, you know, a lot of us, again, we're talking about less than optimal circumstances, rather it be financially, familially, right, your family, rather that has been the case previously, or that's the case now. You know what I mean? But turning it on its head and looking to take the lessons that you can in any situation and to really understand this concept of becoming a better person. See, I think, and a lot of times these ideas that we talk about, like as far as
oh, we got to become a better person, and this and that. It sometimes it seems
it sounds corny because of the ones that were saying it though,
yeah.
and the way they were saying it.
Right.
It's somebody like you or me who's, you know, I don't know how many scars and stuff that you got because I can only see, you know, your face and your arms and everything.
Yeah.
But I'm somebody who's got scars all over. You know what I mean? And when I take my shirt off and I let people look at my scars and my tattoos, that is my submission. That is saying everything you see here is real, and I don't lie about anything.
Right.
You know, and having that type of understanding and practice about comfortability in your own skin, that's where self-love is. Self-love is a healing thing, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I had to go through and do. And for those that grew up like me or worse than me or even not as badly as me, we all have to go through that same process.
For real.
And that same process starts at finding that thing that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Finding that early as a child, whether you're a parent helping your child find that passion or a teacher find that passion, that's the most important thing about a child's development years.
And I think another thing, bro, that as I look, you know, in my background, and I'm 40, right? So
you got me by 10 years, a full decade.
Right. So, and that honestly went by kind of quick, you know what I mean? Like just the way things played out. But at the same time, it's an achievement. A lot of cats that I knew from the neighborhood around here growing up, you know the drill, right? Dead, in jail, overdosed, you know what I mean?
So damaged that they can't recover.
Yeah.
Because there is that point.
Yeah, there is. There definitely is. And it's not something that any of us want, and you don't celebrate that when you see that in someone. But at the end of the day, only we can pull ourselves up, right? Like a person can pour into you in the sense of seeking to motivate you, inspire you, you know, wish you well, pour all good energy into you. But if you can't get any of that into yourself from within, it's
bouncing off.
Yeah. And even though like we would love to get that, right? Like that doesn't really happen like that either from the outside. Usually it's the opposite.
The external forces, the overstimulating environment. Right. And that's something that I've struggled with, and I can say over the last few days, ever since I've just had my put myself back together and just say, you know something, I sit here and I worry and I don't even know what I'm worrying about.
Right.
You know, and that's where a lot of people find themselves, because it comes to that saying. I think I told you this in one of our earlier meetings, but when a 100-year-old man had said the secret to life, or had some advice, right?
Yeah.
He said, tomorrow is the past, today is a gift, tomorrow is a mystery.
Right.
Short, sweet, simple, and he's 100 years old.
Right.
And when he was saying this, he started crying because he's 100 years old. I can't tell you when he adopted this idea, but he probably lived a majority of his life with it.
Right.
And that resonated with me. I was just like,
most people aren't even gonna make it to 100 years old. You know what I mean? I had somebody look. I'm at the job at the American Indian Center, right? Over on Cedar and Franklin. Yeah. There's a lady in there. She works. Her mom. She's probably like in her 50s. You know what I mean? Mid to late 50s. And her mom, she was like, "Oh, I gotta leave early today. There was supposed to be a meeting or something last week." And she was like, "Oh, I gotta leave early today. My mom is in the hospital." And I was like, "Oh snap! I didn't even know. Like she had a mother still." And then it was like, "Well, how old is she?" She was like, "Oh, she's in her 90s." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. That's what's up." You know what I mean? From screw what's going on here, right? And she's all worried, like, "Oh my God, is it gonna be okay if I leave the job early and this and that?" I'm like, man, listen. I don't know if it's just me, but my mentality about that whole world is like, I don't have those anxieties or whatever, right? Like if I gotta be at the hospital for my 90-year-old mother, I have no anxiety whatsoever as to if the manager is gonna approve my request or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now it took time to get there, right? Because it's something that had to be overcome. But I'm not sure that people even realize that it is something that needs to be overcome. It's almost like, from what I see, a lot of people look at it like it's just normal. You know what I mean? To be
well, and the thing is like that comes with the comfortability from overcoming anxiety.
Yeah.
Right? Now, anxiety is one of those things where it affects not only your way of thinking, but it affects your stomach.
Right.
You know, I know some people whose anxiety is so bad that they literally make themselves sick.
Yeah.
Because you know, when your mind and your heart aren't in the same place, what do you think's going to happen?
Misalignment, problems,
It's gonna,
confusion.
It's gonna work against you all day.
Right.
So that's why when people like, and I'm somebody who's had to deal with a lot of funerals. Okay.
Yeah.
I've dealt with a lot of funerals, and you know, being somebody at that funeral while everybody's falling apart, standing around saying, "Do you need this done? How about this?" Just being that calm person while everybody's kind of falling apart.
Right.
And unfortunately, that comes from having to deal with a lot of death. You know, and I'm not somebody who's ever hurt anybody to that extent.
Right.
Because I'm a defensive, anti-bully type person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I value life in the sense that there are things in this life worth protecting and loving, absolute, like God Himself,
Right.
Jesus.
Right.
You know, and with my life, I survived death a couple times.
Right.
I was stabbed multiple times, shouldn't have survived that, saw heaven, came back, only to end up in a position in my life where I also saw hell.
Right.
And that was from wanting to hurt myself. And that's a thing that really hurts me, because I know there's a lot of men right now struggling with their mental health, trying to compare themselves to a financial idea, because that's where the women are at. And
that's one reason. I think it's for the women, but I think so much of our humanity, right? Like, just think about it. You could be the most upstanding, solid, clean-hearted, well-intended, good guy, right? But if you don't have no paper, you don't have no dollars, you don't have no dinero, pesos,
then you can't do nothing. And that's where I'm at in life.
Right? I mean, but
that's where I'm at.
Yeah, right. But then even like, okay, let's say you do got nothing. Now there could be an emotional, like when you realize and accept that thought, there's an emotional reaction that can come within. Now, depending on how strong and how in control or lack of in control the person is, a lot can happen at that point. You know what I mean? Like personality wise.
That's rock bottom, bro. Like that's rock bottom. And a lot of people, and here's the thing, I've seen people I love hit rock bottom and bounce, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I've watched somebody who I love dearly struggle their whole life, or not even their whole life, from the age of 14, 15 years old to doing hardcore drugs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And for the next 10 years, that person had gotten so deep, so far away, so stuck in all these different addictions, to turn around and do something so horrific and survive, and to go to prison and to go through prison and survive that, and come out to go ahead and transform, like a whole person transformation.
Right. That
is something a lot of people will not commit to doing. But I watched it happen. I've seen it happen.
It's tough.
You know?
I mean, because look, when you destroy, because in order to like reinvent yourself, right? Become better, get stronger, do more, learn more, run faster, be smarter, wiser, whatever the case may be, you have to give up something that in all likelihood is something that you've been doing. And usually we do things because we enjoy doing them. You know what I mean? And that enjoyment is the only thing that you have or have had in this life of struggle, right? So it's like, okay, I've had a life of struggle. These things that I like doing are somehow, I've discovered, are getting me in trouble.
Yep.
Right? So in order for me to get out of this and become something more, I gotta throw myself into yet a deeper life of struggle as far as the emotion and of dealing with becoming more, right? Like, because like fasting, bro, like, listen, I don't know if you've never fasted, and I know you have, but I'm talking about like 3 days, 5 days, a week or more, but even just 24 hours on a regular basis. and realize just how much of a habit we really are.
Of overeating?
Not only overeating, but just eating, like just tasting, you know what I mean? Like not even being hungry, but just like scheduled through habit to just eat, you know what I mean?
And I'm somebody who recognized that, right?
Yeah.
I'm somebody who's Native American. That's something that's been instilled in our understandings to get closer with God is to fast.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I noticed sharing with other cultures, you know? But it's all about being hungry, right? I eat very little. I just had one of the biggest meals I've had in a long time yesterday.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it took me a while to make that money to have that meal.
Right.
You know, but that's where I'm at. And that little bit of work for that honest dollar to go sit down and have a nice meal, that felt good.
And
right?
It tasted good.
And
too.
it was a good meal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And what you're really saying, man, is you don't learn while you're not hungry. Is what you're really saying.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody who learned extremely well. And I'm somebody who learned and used hunger to learn.
Me too.
Because when I wanted to learn a new skill, I went into work, not eating, hungry. And that was to learn a new skill, right? And I worked in the casinos. So like I've been in that that casino culture my whole life because I'm Native American. You know what I mean?
Right.
So knowing that you go into a casino and realize how they work, right? I enjoyed the job that I was doing, right? But then I wanted to learn a different skill, so I went into that knowing that I'm going to learn hungry. So I've stayed hungry for a very long time. Like me personally, I eat like a bird now. If you would have saw me in October, you would have saw my stomach out to here, bro. You know, chubby.
Yeah.
I probably lost 20 pounds in like a month and a half.
Since October?
Since October.
That's what's up.
Okay. So I'm somebody who's been fasting on and off simply because I enjoy being hungry now.
Right.
And my biggest thing for me is when I'm hungry and then I go and I meditate and relax in a quiet place, and I'll listen to maybe I'll listen to music when I do it, right? Or maybe I'll listen to something educational, you know, those types of things. Like finding that calm and that peace, that only came through finding all the pieces inside of you, right? And being able to shake off the cortisol, the adrenaline that life constantly puts us under. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I had to learn that from simply listening and learning from what other people had to say.
Right.
And that's where real humility comes from, is coming into a conversation like, I still don't know anything. Right. And humbly learning in any sense of helping one person or yourself first, so that you can help another person. That's where generosity, that's where love, that's where kindness is. Absolutely.
And the idea of, I'll take it one step further, because you said the idea of loving yourself or helping yourself first so you can help others. Taking that a step further and saying the responsibility of helping yourself first and getting yourself together first in order to help others. Because it's like, if you really love someone and you want to help them, you know in your heart of hearts that you're going to have to be in a certain form of yourself in order to achieve those things that you know you can achieve. I do believe that there are things that we're all predestined to do, in the same sense that an athlete or an entertainer or a musician or inventor.
And you're talking about like all three sides, right? You're talking about spiritually, mentally, and physically. Because that's...
Yeah, functioning really as a complete person, in the sense that if you want to do something, you have no doubt that you'll be able to do it. You know what I mean?
And what would that... And I don't know what that would look like for myself. Just saying. But... Well,
I'm just saying, when you're looking for it, you know what I mean? Like, to me, that's the thing. Because I look at it as a balance between who and what you are, and how that's playing out. That there's a relationship between you and the universe. and how you are having this communication back and forth, right? And based on what work you're doing internally is that's the basis of the messages you're getting when you do go into your meditative state. You know what I mean?
Okay.
In the sense of like being attuned to a frequency like an antenna.
Okay.
You know? And just the messages being out there. You have to be able to catch the frequency though.
And that comes from a certain type of isolation.
It does. Now, some people. I had a Chinese teacher.
What's his name?
It was a she.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right over here at Metro.
Wow.
I think her name was like Miss Wong. She was from China. One day we came in the class, me and another dude, and we was just out of there, lit. You know what I mean? Lit. We had to do a presentation. We did the presentation, and she asked us if she could make us lunch or something, right? So she invited us for lunch, and it was like chicken with like it looked like rolls, but she was like, rather than cooking it, she steamed it.
Yeah.
Like steamed dumpling kind of thing with like chicken, and the chicken was like, it had been marinated, and I didn't know what I was trying to explain it, like what marinated is, but I couldn't say it, so I was trying to explain it. She was like, oh, I marinated it, I soaked it overnight, and then that's how the flavor gets like deep in the chicken or whatever. Like basically, she put some love into it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Because the preparation of.
Yeah.
But you're saying that she works over here and she's like looking for students or like is trying to teach, or like you just got lucky with what you had going on.
Well, she was the teacher in the class that I had at that university at the time. You know, I was just doing the class there. This was years ago. She's probably still there though. But at any rate, she was like, we're telling her how fire the chicken is, right? But here's the truth. We were on like our first semester at that college. Cats, fresh, you know, doing whatever on the east side. And school is not really at the top of anybody's agenda at that time, as far as how we were moving. Yeah. No, I mean, I did like it. You know, school was there, but it was like,
oh my bad.
School was there, but it wasn't like one of those things where, it's like, I got to get to school. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, if I got to move a package or if I got something else I could be doing, that's what it is. I'm not really worried about class.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do something different. Within reason, you know, I've never really been the guy to get too much into the moving work, weight, weed, anything. I've experimented, you know what I mean, with a couple of zips or something like that, a QP, a pound, a few pounds, but nothing serious.
But see, I'm somebody that didn't have to make that choice for the majority of my life. Like, at the most, I was somebody who had like an ounce. And I only was somebody who had it to support my habit. And because at the time, I didn't have many friends.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
My nose is running. I'm not somebody who's an extrovert by nature. But being an intuitive introvert and being able to speak confidently about my own life and my own experiences, and being able to teach somebody about what it means to look at yourself in the mirror every day, because I'm somebody who has to look at my scars every day when I wake up. You know what I'm saying? They're not going away. They're physically there. So you learn to appreciate them. You learn to appreciate like myself. And I love myself. I do. It took so long to figure that out. And now I was given a gift, and I hold on to it. And I'm learning, like, I realized how everything went from being so absolutely bad to being so good now. Right?
Yeah.
Humble beginnings. I'm just somebody who likes to get on and just speak from the heart about anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? And as far as somebody who doesn't have any kids, I don't have any kids. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But parenting is extremely hard.
For
right?
sure.
It would be so hard to be a parent right now in this area of saying like, okay, of knowing like you gotta sit there and use all this time to go to work and then not have enough time for your kids.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And
not only just your kids, but your family in general, brothers, sisters, moms, nephews, nieces, aunts, uncles, like everybody just running. For real, bro. And you know who's getting the money off that?
who?
Well, they're all running so they can pay bills. You know what I mean? It's not like they're running so they can advance the family enterprise or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
They running so they can pay bills.
Yep.
And then the question is, what are those bills?
For like here?
Yeah, you know, rent. Like rent is a huge expense these days. Like for the average income owner. And then like I seen something about like in Australia, like it's even worse. Like they're like, well, Australia. I looked. There's a couple of cities there where it's bad. Meaning, the supply of buildings is limited, and the prices are already high. And when and there's like an extreme demand. So in a situation like that, prices are gonna go up. You know,
it's kind of like another smash and grab.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Right. And the thing is like, I don't even understand how it's gotten to be so expensive when they. I don't get it. I'm not somebody who's able to afford a nice place, you know. And for my family that's running around doing the things that they need to do, like, man, I hope that they can get everything that they need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I probably owe way more to them than I ever owe myself.
Right.
You know, because of that. And with my ancestors, with my family, and the ones that are, you know, past, present, and future. Mother Nature, like as we look around, like look at all these birds, like look at all these animals, like sitting all these birds up in the tree.
Squirrels over here getting it. And you know what I really love to see when I'm over here, bro? Just like when the bald eagle comes, it's like the eagle soars alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that joint is just like awe-inspiring every time I see it, man.
And that's a messenger, man. And that's what that is. And if you don't see eagles very often, it's amazing when you do.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, right? I've also seen some owls.
Yeah.
You ever seen an owl? They're massive.
A handful of times.
I've seen one so massive coming down the road in the middle of nowhere. The wings came out as wide as the road. As an owl, like that's almost as big as an eagle. You know?
Yeah, I've never seen one like that.
But that's the beauty in like this part of Minnesota is like our wildlife. You know what I mean? Like the wildlife is extremely beautiful around here.
It really is.
And that's what I love about this place is like if I could be somewhere and learn something and be isolated, it would still want to be around here, right?
Yeah.
Just because it is what it is. Like this is a great place.
Yeah. I like St. Croix County too.
I was over there.
Yeah. As far as like I think it's called like Willow River or something like that. Willow River Falls.
I've never seen that. I've been in Minnesota my whole life. I've never been on a plane, none of that.
Okay. Duluth up north, you know what I mean? It's a place where you can see the massive nature of that Lake Superior.
Yes.
That thing is just massive, like, for real.
That's true.
Seriously.
And I grew up there. You know that?
Nah, I didn't know that.
No, I went to school at the school for Fond du Lac. Like, I'm in and out of reservation my whole life, so in this area.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
What's the res like up there?
In Fond du Lac?
Yeah.
It's quiet. It's a very no nonsense government. So like if you catch drug charges or violent felonies, like you get I don't know currently, but this is how it was when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can get banned off that reservation. So, and I'm not somebody from that reservation, so I'm not somebody who can stay on that reservation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we lived in the city, but I went to school because I can also identify as native, so I was able to go to the school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the school there, guess the shape of it?
Turtle.
Turtle.
Really?
Yep.
Mm.
So, and that's actually where I was when 9/11 happened. I remember in it was like 4th grade. That was the school I was at when that happened.
That was a minute ago.
Right. What was that, 23 years ago? 22?
I remember where I was too, man. I was at a security unit, and it was French Toast Tuesday.
French Toast Tuesday? So
Good boys total time. Kohler Hall security unit. So, but you know, it at that time I didn't see it as having the value on the world that it would go on to. You know what I mean? Like, it was an event, sure, but so much came with that. I remember one day, and this is how I even started to like take my religion more serious. Actually, was as a result of 9/11. Because at the time I wasn't Muslim. You know, I was just out here doing my thing from a Christian background. My dad, in New York, they got this thing called 5% Nation of Gods and Earths, and he was on that thing. And then my mom was on the Christian thing. And so.
But you had to make a choice. Is that what you're saying? Or did you interpret both of them into your life?
Right. It was just kind of a mix of things that made sense to me. You know what I mean? From the source of like my
love and understanding.
What resonated with me when I read the Bible, or what resonated with me as far as when he was saying that this is from the Quran, or this is from my religion, kind of thing. So if it made sense, and even some of it is not necessarily religious in the sense of theology, you know what I mean? Some of it is just like a way of thinking. Like, for example, in the 5% Nation, they say build and destroy. Build or destroy, right? Like, you can either do that. Like, those are one or two things that you can do, and you got to be aware of what you're doing, and do things with intent, right? Like, if you're building, build.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And there are times where you do need to destroy, in the sense that something is either old or you've gone on to become something else. Like, really, when you reinvent yourself, almost like a metamorphosis, when the caterpillar turns into the butterfly, or even really humans metamorphosize. When we're born out of our mothers, there's no concept of going back.
Right. No, that makes total sense.
You know what I'm saying? There's no concept of going back, and we continue to have those moments throughout our lives. It's just that we have to have the wisdom and the understanding to observe them, you know what I mean, and act accordingly. Otherwise, to not is the equivalent, rather it be spiritually, emotionally, or however, it would be the equivalent of that. Like, oh, I'm gonna go back to my mother. The very idea of that is just disgusting. Especially as an adult man, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
I would love to get out of the situation I'm in. Honestly, I do. I'm not trying to be dragged down by anybody.
So on that note, like, let's say we, in all likelihood, everyone has a situation that they'd like to get out of and into another, right? Because there could always be another level. Like, no one is just in complete euphoria 24/7 of life, right? Like, there's something that somebody's dealing with. So how do we go from one level to the next? And then also, being as though this is like also a time when people get into like New Year's resolutions and stuff like that, right? Or becoming a new version of yourself. This is my year, this is my time, I'm gonna do it this time, right? Because it's like this moment in time where everybody knows that they didn't do what they should have done, and yet they get another opportunity to do, and they're excited to do what they know they should do, and they're really like happy about that opportunity. And then all of a sudden, so many people fall off. You know what I mean? Like, how's that happen? What's that about? So what do we do? Because that can happen to any of us. And it has happened in all likelihood to most of us, if not all of us, at least once. So I look at it from me and say, okay, well, I look at myself, I step outside of myself, and I see myself like the way an outer person would see me, and I observe me honestly. It doesn't matter that it's me. If I'm gonna be, these are the rules of honesty. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. And then you look at yourself and be honest about it. And if you see something you don't like, change it. Otherwise, then what am I doing? So, that's why I don't even really like talking to people, to be honest, because it's like, if you don't understand that, then what can we do? Because that way, if I'm doing that for me and you're doing that for you, that enables me to further be able to do that for you with a degree of honesty that can further serve you. And then that would also enable you to do the same for me. And then therefore we're able to help each other as a result of helping ourselves and seeing ourselves honestly. And not only wrestling with the sight of self, but also making the right actions. You know what I'm saying? On a regular basis. Or if you're not doing it on a regular basis, say, all right, now how can I improve?
Yeah.
Right? How can I get better? Measurably better, so I know I don't collapse and not be there at the end of the road. But the whole one day, one route, 1 inch, one word, one sit-up, one push-up, one step. One step. One step can be powerful, bro. For real. One step. That first step, like when you step with determination, like, that's all you need.
Okay. No, and the thing is I don't know where to do that. I don't. Me personally, it's just because I'm so stuck in the current situation I'm in. All I want to do is have my isolation. I really do. Like, I really enjoy that, whether it's just trying to focus on something, right? And my focus is on being one of two things. That's a motivational speaker for people. So I like to have the opportunities to tell my stories.
Right.
You know, I did overcome a lot of everything. I'm only alive because of the grace of God, point blank, period. And heaven is real. Hell is real. Jesus is real. All that. And I just know that much is for real, right?
Right.
And I don't know where I'm supposed to be at right now. I'm just told to be patient. I'm told to be patient and wait for this year to come. And I'm somebody who wants to be physically fit. I do. But if you looked at my body, right, you haven't even seen the scars, right? So to be able to do a sit-up or anything like that is extremely hard because my core is shredded.
Right.
But I'm somebody who wants to be able to get into a quieter situation, a humble position of saying, I just need to focus on writing, learning, and getting physically capable of whatever it is that God has for me. Right?
Yeah, you're right, man. That's the same thing.
And whatever that is, I just don't know where to go or where to be. With my current situation, and I just want to get away from it. I do. But I'm over here trying to just make a couple dollars and get that way out, you know?
Right.
So if there was anything I could do to help you today, I would like to do that. Because you've been giving me an outlet to speak on what's in my heart.
Right.
And which, you know, I'm Native and I love that. And I love variety, you know, and I'm learning to understand it.
Yeah.
And for whatever love that I've gotten in life, that was through kindness in moments. And even right now, as I sit in one of my favorite places, man, these birds, these animals, they're so close to us. You know what I mean? Like, they're so close. We had squirrels sitting almost right outside the door. You know, like the animals are loving the vibe.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that tells me a lot. Okay.
For real.
It's what if God was telling me it's time to get away from this situation, then take me away from this situation. Put me where I need to be.
Me too.
And you know what I'm saying? And everybody that believes in what we have or what we've done for the betterment of tomorrow.
Everyone who believes in the source. You know what I mean? The source of all creation. Whatever that may be for you. You know. Now is the time to believe in it. And my thing is also hold fast. You know what I'm saying? If I can say anything to myself right now or my surroundings, is all about hold fast. Like, you can't waver now. You know what I mean? We've chosen our course. There's no wavering, there's no back and forth. We just gotta hold fast. I gotta hold fast. Do what you can where you are with what you have, and just hold fast. And give thanks for the small things, bro. Like how you said, the animals just being around, this view.
Yeah, I appreciate it, bro. And with that, man, I want to wish you the rest of a good day, bro.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, for sure.
And whatever you need, we'll talk about another subject next time. But enjoy Christmas.